We have some really big MMO news that I want to talk about, but I can't get to the excited part just yet. We'll wait a little bit for that. Right now, we're going to talk about the nervous part, the thing that's making me, a little cautious with the optimism right now. Greg Street, perhaps better known as Ghostcrawler, finally unveiled the new MMO project he's been working on, and while there's a lot to be excited about, there's also a big concern I have, and it's all about where the money is coming from. It's one that I doubt we'll get any clear answers on from the Q&A that we're gonna have on November 8th, which I expect is gonna focus more on the game, although I have at least tried to get some answers. But let's talk about the studio and what the actual concern is and why. Ghostcrawler's new studio, Fantastic Pixel Castle, is working on a new fantasy MMO that'll be pulling in industry veterans that worked on games like Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Overwatch, that maybe we shouldn't mention Overwatch, Valorant, and more. Something Ghostcrawler has attributed to being a fully remote studio, which allows for more flexibility in hiring. The MMO will be in a fantasy universe that will apparently try to avoid the fantasy tropes you've seen 100 times before, which, hooray for originality, but tropes work for a reason. The tropes they talked about not having, well, there's no orcs or elves in the world of Ghost, so there's that. The game will have axes, crossbows, and magic to fight with, and a world to engage in with allies and enemies who have diverse motivations, actions, and secrets, all with heroic adventure around every corner. It'll be an original IP built from the ground up, and I admit I'm excited to see what this looks like. I do, however, hope that they don't take the route of a lot of current new MMORPGs like New World and Throne Liberty of essentially just like giving us humans and that's it. Here is the most basic thing you could possibly be, that the choice in fantasy or sci-fi MMOs that's always really freaking boring. And go with that because honestly, it's easier and cheaper if you just have one set of armor that you have to focus on when you're creating character models, one set of animations. There's a reason, and I hope they don't go that route. And if they do have multiple different races to pick from, I hope we go back to the World of Warcraft and EverQuest style, not all the way back to Ultima Online or to newer games, but the style of having more monstrous races, the ogres and trolls and Ixar and I guess Tauren. Would Tauren count as an ugly one? Orcs. I know we don't have orcs, but orcs, the kind of races that are so different from the norm, the fantastical races, the ones that don't just look like a humanoid and like has like a little bit of tentacles on the face or something like that. Am I asking too much? I might be asking a little bit too much. But I think things like that, where you can see like the visual difference and in huge differences in cultures and things like that, it really helps pull people into a fantasy MMO. I mean, they have people from the Guild Wars 2 team that are going to be on this team, and you got the Char with them. So maybe we will get something like this. We'll just have to wait and see. And I think it's probably going to be a while until we get to see, because this is still very, very, very early in the development. And there are going to be a ton of details we are not going to have for a very long time. But those lack of details and the avoiding of fantasy tropes is not the concern. And it's one of those things, a question that I posed in the Q&A that we'll see if it gets answered for on November 8th. The question is all about the money. This studio is being funded by none other than Netease. Netease is going to be funding the studio, and Netease may actually be spreading themselves a little bit thin here. And therein lies the concern. Other MMOs that Netease is either working on or funding include Ashfall, the post-apocalyptic MMO that was delayed to summer of 2024, Rich Vogel's T-0 Entertainment, which was only announced back in August, and will be working on a sci-fi MMO in a remote first work studio based out of Austin, Texas. Vogel, many of you may know from his work on games like Ultima Online, Star Wars Galaxies, Meridian 59, and Star Wars The Old Republic. Well, this is kind of an interesting side note. This will be the fourth studio Vogel has been part of based out of Austin after Sony Online Entertainment Austin, BioWare Austin, and Bethesda Game Studios Austin. It doesn't end there though, as Netease is also funding Jack Emmert's Jackalyptic Games, which is working on a Warhammer MMO. One common thread here with all of these new studios: veteran game developers snapping up huge names in the industry that have worked on fan favorite games in the past, and all funded by Netease, a company that has brought us really pretty bad mobile games like Lord of the Rings Rise to War, and more recently their PC battle royale Naraka Bladepoint. But perhaps what Netease is most known for is the fact that they published World of Warcraft in China until earlier this year, when Blizzard and Netease broke up after 14 years. You know, it's funny, 14 years, that's almost as long as I've been with my wife. Shit, that's a long time. It's not that Netease is a particularly bad company. There's plenty of bad companies making MMOs. It's more that when you have this many projects and all kind of in the same space, I worry that if one of them fails, let's look at Ashfall, for example. Ashfall being the one that's probably the most likely to come out soon, as I believe it was delayed until summer of 2024. If that game does poorly, how is that going to impact the future development of other MMOs? Will funding get cut? Will they try and push out games faster? Will they try and speed up the development times to cover up for the failure of another MMO, given that it's the same genre? It's kind of the same worry I have with NCSoft. NCSoft is launching multiple MMOs over the next couple of years. MMOs that are on their own, like Throne and Liberty, or MMOs that are using other studios like the one that they're working on for Horizon Zero Dawn with Sony. It's really a concern for me to see so much consolidation of the MMOs in these companies that may not have they're just really maybe not looking for like, hey, I want this one game to do really well, and just kind of throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks, and maybe having a bit of a faster pull on what they cancel. That's my big concern always with this. And then then you have to get into the other part of like, yeah, Netease is actually known as a company that makes mobile games, which always creates some concern. I mean, granted, it was even called the mobile game maker of the year in 2022 by pocketgamer.biz. But they may be facing some issues with being a mobile game maker, as also in 2022, Netease said this: "We have developed and expect to continue to devote a significant amount of resources to the development of our mobile games, but the relatively lower profit margins and other uncertainties make it difficult to predict whether we will continue to succeed in making our mobile game operations profitable. If we do not succeed in doing so, our business, financial condition, and results of operations will be adversely affected." That doesn't sound great, and that was just last year, at least for the mobile section. Maybe they're trying to change the kind of games they make. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see, but I want to know what you think. Are you excited about this announcement from Ghostcrawler? Are you going to be there on November 8th to see what happens from the Q&A? Fun little side note, Code Carnage reached out to them on Twitter and actually asked if they can live stream it, and yes, it can be co-streamed. So you'll have a couple different options of how to watch it. I sadly probably won't have enough time to be able to, because I have a job that sucks. But if you want to check it out, go ahead and check out that Q&A. I'll have links to their Twitch down below, and you can kind of get some idea of what's going to happen soon. But also let me know down in the comment section, do you think I am just being overly dramatic here and there's nothing to worry about with the funding from Netease, or these consolidation of these like multiple MMOs being made by the same companies, essentially different developers, same publisher? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Redbeard Flynn, and I hope you have a wonderful day.